that Or and Sof Lemata Mata Ad Ein Tachlis includes the entire Seder Shtashelus, from the horns of the ram Keser Shebekeser, the worlds of infinity, the highest spiritual divine worlds, all the way to the lowest klipos, that their job is to hide Hashem and to separate us from Him. All this is included in the statement of Nehemiah, Ve'ata mechaye es kulam. All right, good evening and good Yontef. It's Tu B'Shvat, Baruch Hashem, the 15th of Shvat, Chamisha Asar B'Shvat. I mentioned today that, the few Yamim Tovim that the Rebbe really brought out, even though they are based on Chazal, and one of them is Tu B'Shvat, like Tu B'Shvat, Purim Katan, Pesach Sheni, Zayin Cheshvan. These are Yamim Tovim that the Rebbe brought out, and Tu B'Shvat as well, in a way that we are all celebrating it, Baruch Hashem. So we will do at least half of the session, maybe a little more Basi legani, and then a little bit on Tu B'Shvat, Be'ezrat Hashem. We will begin with dedicating the shiur to all the soldiers that are fighting on the battlefield, and we are praying for them that they should be very successful and none of them should be harmed. All those who are wounded or injured or sick should heal immediately, and we should have the Geula Amitis V'Ashlema with Beis HaMikdash Hashlishi V'Anitzchi Teker B'Yad Mamash now, with the Rebbe leading the world in a happy, peaceful way, Be'ezrat Hashem. We are on page, in the booklet of Basi legani, we are on page Chaf, which is in the middle of chapter Gimel. And the Rebbe is learning with us about Or and Sof Lemata Mata Ad Ein Tachlis, based on the pasuk from Nehemiah, Ve'ata mechaye es kulam, that you create and animate everyone. You create life to all. And the Rebbe explained that this is not, of course it's done by Hashem, but not directly the way He is, rather the way He is investing Himself in Oisios. He's investing in Or and Sof in Oisios, like a code. He is therefore giving life to the worlds in a way that He hides Himself, conceals Himself. Bottom line, on top of page Chaf, the Rebbe is saying that the Amshachas HaChayos B'chol HaNivraim, that the coming down of life force in all creatures is through Hashem Himself, Atzmus, investing and enclosing Himself in Osios, in letters. And through letters He creates. Ve'ata mechaye es kulam. Ata, the Osios Aleph to Taf, plus the Hey Motzos Hadibur. Now we are on page Chaf, the main paragraph, Umosif Bem HaMa'amar. And the Rebbe adds, the He'aras Or Eloki, Hare Nimshach Lehavos Uleachayos Es Kol HaNivraim Mi'ayin Leyesh. So this radiance from the divine light is drawn down to create, to bring to existence, and to give life, to animate all Nivraim, all created beings, from Ein to Yesh, from nothingness to somethingness, from Ein to Yesh. V'hainu, de'im eyosh b'pasuk ne'emar ve'ata mechaye es kulam. It means like this. Now the Rebbe said we have to be more particular. What does it mean, ata mechaye es kulam? And the Rebbe will explain, as we mentioned last time, that it involves two main things, the way the Eibusher gives life to all Nivraim. One is V'asa mehave, that Hashem brings to existence, and then mechaye, and then animates and enlivens. So Nehemiah says one thing only, Ve'ata mechaye es kulam. Ata means the oisios, the creative oisios of Hashem, plus the Hey, Aleph to Taf, and the Hey, Motzos, the Hey sources of creation from Malchus of Atzilus, the 5 sources of creation, like we have the 5 sources of articulation in our mouth, so too Malchus of Atzilus has 5 kinds of tzimtzumim through which the oisios are creating everything. But Nehemiah says, ואתה מחיה את כולם, you give life to everyone. הרי זה, כמו שביאר רבינו הזקן בשער הייחוד והאמונה, אל תקרא מחיה אלא מהווה. דהיינו יש מאין. So the Alter Rebbe in שער הייחוד והאמונה says, don't read it מחיה, that Hashem animates everything, but mehave, Hashem creates everything. And by the way, Al Tikri, the Rebbe explains that Al Tikri, like the Avram, Al Tikri Vayikra, but Vayakri, and so on, it doesn't mean that one way is wrong and one is right. It means that to the regular meaning of the word, we are adding another meaning, which is usually deeper. So when you read Ata Mechayeh, that Hashem animates everyone, says the Alter Rebbe, don't read it just that you give life in terms of animating everything, but also have in mind mehaveh, that you bring everything into existence from ayin to yesh. וכפי שמביא לפני זה, פירוש הבעל שם טוב, במה שכתוב לעולם הווה את דברך ניצב בשמיים, as the Rebbe brings the Alter Rebbe in the beginning of שער הייחוד והאמונה. The pasuk leolam from Tehillim, that forever Hashem, your word, your creative word, stands in the Shamayim. So whatever utterance creates Shamayim, divine utterance creates Shamayim, remains standing in Shamayim to bring it to existence. היינו, שאויסיוס הדיבור מאלף ועד תו, שבעשר המיימרוס, עומדים בתמידיות, באופן דניצב, כמו אתם ניצבים, מלשון ניצב מלך, שמורה על הדר השינוי, בכל הנבראים להבוסם ולקיימם. What does it mean? As the Alter Rebbe explains in שער הייחוד והאמונה, that the oisios hadibur, the letters of the divine speech with which Hashem creates, which are in the 10 utterances that Hashem said as he created the world, they are standing bitmidius, they are standing constantly in creation in a manner of nitzav. Leolam hava et dvarcha nitzav bashamayim. Nitzav means to stand firmly, like a guard of the king. It stands firmly, means it's more al heder hashinui. That means that there is a constant, unchanging, divine, creative energy, which is called the divine speech, that brings everything into existence and gives it life. וזה שמוסיף במיימר, שהאור האלוקי נמשך להבוס, ואחר כך גם להחיוס את כל הנבראים. That the divine light, first, is coming down to bring into existence all the Nivraim, whether they're the spiritual creations or the physical creations, and then גם, ואחר כך, גם להחיוס את כל הנבראים, to give life, to animate all נבראים. והעניין בזה, דהנה בעניין ההישאבוס ועניין החיוס, יש חילוק בהגילוי שבהדבר. Now, these two things, which means the divine energy that creates everything and brings it into existence, and the divine energy that animates everything, there is a difference in terms of how much both types of energy are revealed. כמבואר במקום אחר בארוחה, as is explained elsewhere at length, שבנוגע להישאבוס הנבראים, that when it's coming to the creation, to the creating, to coming of existence, yesh me'ayin, of all the created beings, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא שעניין ההישאבוס יהיה באופן שהמהווה מעלים את עצמו מהמסהווה. So Hashem wanted that the process of creation should be done in such a way that the Creator will conceal himself from the creation. And therefore, you and me do not see and do not sense the power that brings us into existence. There is a power that constantly brings you and me into existence, yesh me'ayin, and not you and not me know what it is, and it's not begilui to us, it's not revealed. עד כדי כך שהרגשתו של היש הנברא היא שאין לו עילה וסיבה שקדמה לו, אלא הוא יש אמיתי, כפי שנראה גם לעיני הזולס. And this goes so far that even though there is a constant divine energy that flows through the divine letters, creative letters, that brings you and me into existence and everything else that we see around us. And this happens all the time through this divine oisios, through this divine and creative energy. Yet Hashem wanted to be concealed in this process to the extent that the feeling of the created yesh is that we don't have a cause. I don't feel that something created me. I'm here. Ich bin du. Here I am. And the way we feel is we don't feel that there's a cause, that we are just as a result of a cause that created us, that preceded us. We feel that we are yesh amiti, and this is how we look to the others as well. I look at you, I see somebody and something. You look at me, you see something. And none of us feel the energy that brings us into existence. This is benogea to mehave, creating, bringing into existence from ayin. However, the other type of existence, which means how Hashem enlivens us and animates us, that type of energy is revealed. You feel that you are alive. You are aware of the fact that you are alive. Now, in this world, the tzimtzumim are so big, and Hashem is so hidden, that sometimes it's easy not to make the connection between the fact that we are alive and that our aliveness is godliness. That we, in Olam Asiya Gashmi, we don't see necessarily. But the fact that we are alive, to be able to sense this chayus, we all do. So מה שאין כן בנוגע לעניין החייס. So the ishavus is hidden. Not the result of it, but the energy that mehave is hidden. But the chayus, הרי בשעה שמתבונן כיצד ואיך הוא חי, when a person thinks for a moment how he is alive, אזי בא לידי הבנה, ועד שנרגש אצלו שישנו מקור שמחיה אותו. Then he comes to understand, and he senses that there is a source that animates him, that gives him life. אף על פי שההבנה וההרגש הם במיעוט וצמצום. Even though we know very little about this life, and we feel it very little. You know, people who are more transparent, like tzaddikim, they feel it big time. That the chayus is chayus eluki. They feel that their chayus, their chayus is the nefesh elokis, is the elokus. We feel that we are alive. We see the difference. We know the difference between not being alive, God forbid, and being alive. We feel our chayus. Not always we connect it with the elokus though. כמו לדוגמה. But basically, these are the two types of chayus, the mehave and the mechaye. The mehave is concealed, and the mechaye is revealed. לדוגמה, במאמר תדשי הארץ דשא. In the מאמר for Tuesday, that the land should produce vegetation and grass. שיש בזה בייס עניינים. In this divine saying, utterance that creates all vegetations, there are two inyanim. One is ishavus metzius hadeshe, next page, chaf aleph on top. One is the coming to existence of grass and vegetation. And then pirtei ofanim the kiyum v'chayus hadeshe. And then we have all the details about the ways and the different types of energy of life that different plants have, and different vegetations have. שיש מהם הדורשים ריבוי גשמים. That's already the personality. The existence of grass, of vegetation is the mehave. But the chayus, the mechaya, is already the personality of the vegetation. שיש מהם הדורשים ריבוי גשמים, ויש מהם הדורשים מעט גשמים. ועל דרך זה יש חילוקים במידת החום הדרושה לכל אחד מהם. There are those plants that need a lot of rain, those plants that need little rain, those plants that need a lot of heat, and those who need little heat. Different types. That's already how the chayus of the plant operates. וכאשר האדם מתבונן בזה, אזי בא לידיעה והבנה שישנו מי שמשגיח בהשגחה פרטיס שיהיו כל העניינים הדרושים באופן המתאים לכל עשב ודשא שיוכל להיות חי. So when a person thinks about it a little bit, reflects on it, then he comes to know and to understand that there is the one who is supervising in a particular way, that all the required inyanim should be there, provided in the suitable manner to each type of vegetation, to each type of grass, to each type of plant. שיוכל להיות חי, so it can exist, it can be alive. אמנם, however, על ידי הידיעה וההבנה בעניין דמחיה. However, what is Hasidus expecting from us? That once we start operating our brains, we're turning on the switch, and we start thinking, wait, there is a power that creates, then there is a power that animates and gives each plant its specific individual needs. Mahave, mechaye. Through this knowing and understanding in the subject of mechaye, הרי הוא בא אחר כך לידי הבנה, שבהכרח להיות גם מי שמהווה את הדבר, שהרי אין היש עושה את עצמו. So logic dictates that there has to be the one that creates, and there has to be the one that animates, because the yesh doesn't make itself. Something that exists doesn't make itself. This is the rule in our world of existence. If something is there, something made it. No one and nothing makes itself. וזהו מה שנסבר בכסוב, וזהו מה שנאמר בכסוב בגילוי, הוא ואתה מחיה את כולם. And this is what it means בגילוי, that through seeing in a revealed way how Hashem creates and animates everyone, we can come to know that there is a creator and there is an animator. ועל זה בא הלימוד, דאל תקרא מחיה אלא מהווה, and from the fact that we can see the chayus of everything, the vital energy of anything that exists, we also can come to understand that there is a creator to all that brings everything into existence, מהווה. כידוע, is known שהלימוד דאל תקרא אינו שולל אלא מוסיף עוד עניין. So the principle in analyzing psukim, which is called al tikri, which means don't read it like this, read it like that, as I said before, doesn't mean to negate the first meaning, it means to add to it. So ואתה מחיה את כולם means you give life to all, but to add to it, ואתה מהווה, you also create everything. היינו שמהעניין דמחיה באים לידי הכרה גם בעניין דמהווה. So from witnessing the life in every being, we also can conclude that there is also a source of creation to every being. ושני עניינים אלו נכללים באותו פסוק ובאותה התיבה, ואתה מחיה את כולם. And both, which means animating, giving chayus, as well as creating, bringing to existence, is in this one word, מחיה. שזהו שהארס אור אלוקי אור אינסוף נמשך להבוס ולהחיוס את כל הנבראים. That means that this divine radiance of Or and Sof is elicited and drawn to bring into existence and to animate all created beings. This is the first assumption to make and the first point to make when we really dive into the understanding of what really is Or Ein Sof Lemata Mata Ad Ein Tachlis, which is the subject of this Os, Yudalid. Page Chaf Aleph, chapter Dalid. והנה מה שכתוב ואתה מחייס כולם, הרי זה כולל לא רק אסכול העולמות בעניינים דקדושה ורשוס בלבד. When Nehemiah says, you give life to all, and now we know already that it means not only that you give life to all, but you create all as well. This includes not only the worlds and matters of holiness, and reshus, and even matters of permission. This is not just the things that are allowed to do, a permissible area, or the mitzvahs, or kedusha. V'ata machaya es kulam means everyone. כפי שמצינו כמה פעמים שהכוונה בלשון כל הוא רק ברובו ככולו ולא כולו ממש. Sometimes the term call in halacha and sometimes in spirituality as well, the term call doesn't necessarily for sure mean everything without any exception. It means most. Here the Rebbe says when the pasuk says v'ata mechaye es kulam, it means all without any exception. That means not only realities of kedusha, of holiness, אלא כולל גם את עניין הקליפוס. It includes also the area of klipos, of ungodly forces, שהרי בנוגע לכל מציאות שיש בעולם, regarding any reality and any existence in the world, not only, לא רק רובו ככולו, not only most of it, but all of it, כולל גם מציאות הקליפה, including also the existence of that which hides over elokus, over godliness, ישנו הכלל שאין היש עושה את עצמו. So everything that exists, even something that stands against kedusha, the rule applies, as we said, that yesh doesn't make itself. That means that anything, any force that exists, even if it goes against God, from where did it come to be, and from where does it get its life? From Hashem. ועל כן צריך להיות, and therefore it has to be, או על כן צריך להבין, we have to understand, שגם מציאות זו, או צריך להיות, I think, שגם מציאות זו נכללת במה שכתוב ואתה מחיה את כולם. That even the reality of klipos is included in the statement that the Navi says, you give life to all. That means you give life to klipos as well. יצר הרע. ועל זה מביא במאמר, מה שאמרו רז"ל, שהקדוש ברוך הוא זן ומפרנס מקרני ראמים עד ביצי קינים. As we mentioned last time, that the Gemara says, that Hashem gives life to everything. From the horns of the Re'em, which is a huge animal, which some say doesn't exist anymore, but it's a big animal, and it's not just an animal, but the horn that represents the highest level. It means Keren, means Keser, means prestige. Harem Keren Meshichecha, pick up the horn of your Mashiach. Chana says, V'iten oz lemalko v'yarem keren limshicho. Harem keren Yisrael amecha, we said, Avinu malkeinu. Raise the keren, the horn, the glory of Yisrael, your nation. Because in Galus, the keren is not in the glory is away from us. It says that the term keren is mentioned 10 times in the Torah. And Chazal say, based on Kabbalah, that in Galus, all the kranos, all the horns, all glories were taken away and were given to the Goim. And by the Geula, Harem Keren Meshichecha, all the Keren will come back to the Jewish people. And the horn of the Jewish people will rise high. Yarem Keren limshicho. It's a prestige. So Keren represents, Re'em represents Keser, and Keren represents, Keser means the highest levels of Seder Ishtalshelus, where the Olamos are one with Or and Sof, the Olamos of infinity, the highest realities, the worlds of infinity, that's the Re'em, and in that, the horn of the Re'em, the Keser Shebe Keser, all the way to the Elokus, in the highest levels of Seder Ishtalshelus, of worlds. This is what the Keren of the Re'em represents. The highest levels of Gilui Elokus, where Or and Sof is revealed. Highest worlds. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu Izanu Mefarnes, feeds and sustains everyone. Mikarnei Re'im, the entire Seder Ishtalshelus, from the highest levels of Kedusha, the highest spiritual world, the highest divine worlds, Karnei Re'imim, the horns of the Re'ems, Ad Beitzei Kinim, all the way down to the eggs of the lice, as we said last time. And now the Rebbe gives a little more Kabbalistic explanation. The Hinei, that means, Karnei Re'imim hainu abriya הכי גדולה. Re'em is the biggest animal. ובעצי קינים היינו הבריאה הכי קטנה. The eggs of the lice represents the smallest creation. שכן הוא בגשמיוס. This is so physically. וכמוכנו גם ברוחניוס העניינים. So too, these two physical inyanim, the biggest one at the horn of the ram, and the smallest, tiniest one that maybe you need a magnifying glass or a microscope to see, it's the eggs of the lice. Beruchnius, what it represents, because Gashmius mishtalshel miruchnius, everything begashmius is a derivative of spiritual. כדאיסא בספר טור ברקס מתלמידי האריזל שקרני ראמים הם סוד 10 קרנוס, as is brought in the book of טור ברקס from Reb Chaim HaKohen Missouri, from the Talmidim of the Arizal, that is this קרני ראמים, the horn of the Re'em, is hinting to the soul, to the secret of 10 קרנות, of the 10 horns that were taken and given to the non-Jewish nations, and the Geula that will come back to us. שהוא עניין 10 ספירוס דקסר. Why 10? Because there are 10 spheros. And here we're talking about 10 spheros of the Re'em, which is the highest, the 10 spheros of Keser, which means the way the spheros in Keser are one with Or and Sof. שהרי רעם הוא גבוה מאוד, ועניינו בספירוס הוא ספירס הקסר. וקרני ראם קאי לדרגה הכי עליונה שבקסר גופה. So Kabbalistically the Re'em is the highest, very high, and in spheros it represents the sphere of Keser, and the Karnei Re'em, the horns of the Re'em, refers to the highest level of Keser in Keser itself. It's Keser Shebe-Keser. Tachlis HaRuchnius, the Atmos Ruchnius, that's the highest that you can imagine. And that's the horn of the Re'em. So that comes, ואתה מחיה את כולם, that begins from the highest. What's the lowest? ביצי קינים. What's ביצי קינים Kabbalistically? The eggs of the lice. היינו בריאה הכי קטנה גם ברוחניוס. It means the smallest creation ברוחניוס as well. Meaning שהיא קטנה מצד האלוקות שיש בה. What makes it so tiny? So little godliness is left in this creature. What is minute and very, very tiny life represents? What it is represented by? Klippa. Klippa is, as we learn already, is sustained by God, but it has such tiny level of elokus, of divinity, and it's so concealed that now we're in a klippa. something that stands between one and God. כדאיסא בפרי עץ חיים בביאור העניין הרוחני דקינים. So in the Arizal, the Chaim Vital explains the teachings from the Arizal. What does kinim mean beruchnius, Kabbalistically? Shekinim begematria kuf chaf. Okay, now concentrate, please. We have a little Kabbalah shiur here, not too hard, but it's Kabbalah. Kinim kaf nun yud mem is gematria 120. ורומז על קוף כף הצירופים בשם אלוקים. page כף base. What does it mean? קינים בגמטריה 120. שם אלוקים has 5 letters, right? Aleph and Lamed and Hey and Yud and Mem. Don't make a kuf there because that's not the Shem Elokim, the real Shem Elokim. So Aleph, Lamed, Hey, and then a Yud and a Mem. 5 letters. With 5 letters, you can make 120 combinations. Each letter with the other 4. You can make 120 combinations. So the fact that Kinim is Gematria 120, it alludes to the 120 tzirufim, combinations of Shem Elokim. What's Shem Elokim? Shem Elokim is the Atam Chaye. Shem Elokim represents the mouth of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Malchus of Atzilus. Shem Elokim is the Tzimtzum, that Hashem, with which Hashem conceals himself when he becomes the creator. That's Shem Elokim. And therefore, there are 120 manners of Tzimtzumim. How Shem Elokim can metzamtzem, can hide and constrict and conceal the name of Elokim, the godliness, the name of Havaya, really. So the name of Elokim hides the name of Havaya, the infinity of Hashem, in 120 ways. And that's why the Kinim is the same gematria of 120, which is all the 120 possible tzirufim, combinations of name of Elokim. And we know from Shara Yichud Va'emuna that tzirufim of Oisios are creating all kinds of realities, different combinations of letters. That's how realities are created. So the name of Elokim has 120 combinations. 120 combinations of tzimtzumim, of hiding Or Ein Sof. However, Chazal, the Kabbalists differentiate between the first 3 letters of Shem Elokim, Ele, Aleph, Lamed, Hey, and Yam, Yud, Mem, Elokim. Aleph, Lamed, Hey, Yud, that's the first 3 letters, and Yud, Mem. And they say that the tzirufim of the Yud Mem, the last 2 tzirufim, the Yud Mem, they are the lowest. They are the most concealing of the divine light. Much more to say, it's inyan of Aseh Shamos be'eretz cham, because there are actually 48 combinations of these two Yuds, two letters of Yud and the Mem, that can be the last 48 combinations out of 120, and this will finish the Kabbalistic explanation. Out of 120 combinations of Tzimtzumim of Shem Elokim, the last 48 are the harshest. They conceal Hashem the most. And they create realities that conceal God completely. So they are the lowest. And they are represented by the Eretz Cham, Lasot Shamos be'Eretz Cham. The land of Cham is Mitzrayim, Egypt. Each letter of Shem Elokim combines with another 4. It's each letter, it's all together, we have 5 letters, we have 120 combinations, each letter 24. So the last 2 letters, which means the last 48 combinations is the lowest. So Kinim is Gematria. Let's look at the last line again of Chaf Aleph. Kinim is Gematria Kaf Chuf, Kuf Chaf, 120. ורומז, it hints on the 120 צירופים combinations of the name of אלוקים, והיינו, that means, ששם אלוקים בגמטריה הטבע, נקרא מגן על שם הוויה. The name אלוקים, which is gematria teva, like nature, hides over elokus. Nature shows like everything works by itself. And so too, the name of Elokim hides over the name of Havai, conceals the name of Havai. And it's like a magen, a shield that conceals and stands between us and the name Havai. ולכן נקרא בשם קינים. And that's why it's called קינים. What's the name Elokim connected with קינים? מלשון כינוי. כינוי, I think without the first yud, nun and chof the shishim, shivim, no, with the yud. כינוי means a nickname. When you don't call the real name, but you call a nickname. It can be a positive, a negative. You call somebody a fetzo, God forbid. It's not his name, it's a nickname, it's a kinui. And it's probably from the last of Hashem Elokim, because it's not a nice one. But the kinui is a name, that an adjective or a name that you give someone that is replacing or covering up on his real name, on his authentic name. And that's why Elokim, like in Sha'arei Ora of Digitilia, in Kabbalah books, it discusses that Elokim is a kinui, is the Shem Havai, Shem HaEtzem, is the real essential name of Elokus, and Elokim is just a nickname, it's just a kinui. שהכינוי בא במקום השם. The kinui, the nickname, the Elokim comes instead of the real name, והוא עיבוד השם. It's like losing the name, the real name, and it covers up. It's like through the name of Elokim through the Oisios creates world, and now it looks like there is a world that is separate from Havaya. Who did it? Who hid Havaya? Who is really the creator? Havaya is the creator. But Elokim covers the fact that Havaya is the creator. Havaya conceals itself through Elokim. So it's like a nickname. וכפירוש הרב המגיד בעניין נגד שמי עבד שמי, that in Pirkei Avos, that if someone runs after kavod, Shem means also like kavod. So if somebody runs after kavod, he loses his kavod. He runs after making a name, he will lose his name. Why? שכדי להיות נגד שמה, in order to get a name, to be known, כמאמר הז"ל, as Rabbeinu Zichronam Libracha said. Where did they say it? Ha'ara footnote 71. Koheles Rabbah, in Medrash Rabbah, on Koheles, halach HaKadosh Baruch Hu malach tafkuf shana. HaKadosh Baruch Hu walked 500 years. Ad lemata mata ba'olam tachtonim. Don't worry, I'm not going to get into the Kabbalistic explanation of why 500. Another time. But Hashem walked down 500 years. Lemata mata, to the lowest worlds. Liknot lo shem. Why? To acquire himself a name. He wanted to get a name for himself. He wanted to be known. So you know what he had to do in order to get a name for himself, to become known? He had to lose his name. He had to hide himself. הרי זה על ידי עבד שמי. The only way that Hashem can become known to us is to hide himself and to lose his name. עבד שמי. היינו, שנאבד השם ונשאר רק כינוי. The name is lost, Havaya is hidden and lost, and what is remaining, the kinui, the nickname, Elokim, that through the Oisios creates world that feels, I made myself. Nobody made me. I'm here. ונמצא, so what do we find? שביצי קינים מורה על עניין הקליפוס. Eggs of lice shows on klipos. And that's why Mitzrayim had the Makas Kinim. It was very important to bring Makas Kinim to conquer the Makas and to strike the Kinim in Mitzrayim. Because it is with the same wood that you cut from the tree, you make an axe to chop down the tree. So that's why Makas Kinim went on to the Kinim of Mitzrayim. שגם שם, but what's the point of all this that we're concluding now? That אור אין סוף למטה מטה עד אין תכליס includes the entire סדר השתלשלוס from the horns of the ram כסר שבכסר, the worlds of infinity, the highest spiritual divine worlds, all the way to the lowest klipos. That their job is to hide Hashem and to separate us from Him. All this is included in the statement of Nehemiah, Ve'ata mechayes kulam, that you create and animate and enliven all. שגם שם נמשך האור והחיוס האלוקי. That even in Eretz Cham, there is, in the land of Cham, of the lowest, darkest place, of tzimtzumim, of hiding over Elokus, there also the light and the life force, the divine light and the divine life force is present. ועל דרך מאמר הז"ל, אין עוד מלבדו. In fact, it's present in a manner that is nothing but it. ואפילו, even כשפים, even witchcraft, Or and Sof is there too. We will continue in Yirtzeh Hashem next week to go even lower. And that
is Keshafim lower than Kinim?
Is lower than, is like the lowest, lower than Klipos. Because the Klippa is still an angel, it still has a shlichus. And Kishuf is not a malach, is using dark forces that oppose Elokus and manipulating with them, and we do that. You know, and the Rebbe will go even further. That Klippa, at least, is also an angel of Hashem. It does what Hashem, like the woman that the king hires to try to tempt the prince, so he should be strong and overcome it. So she is a servant of God. She is an angel. She is a messenger. She is on shlichus. But when a person sins, and God forbid, and he creates a Sheol, a Gehenom that is made, that is even lower than the lowest Klippa, as we'll learn next time. Even there is Or and Sof.
So why is Kishuf lower? Because it has no purpose, or what?
Yeah, it's just a manipulation that is not in the name of God. It's a negative manipulation that he uses forces not in the shlichus of God. It's distortion. We'll talk more next week about that, but it's very comforting to know, not only comforting, and psychologically is comforting, that in the darkest experiences is Or and Sof, but also in terms of our avoida and the way we relate to the dark parts of our own selves and the dark experiences that we have in the world and so on, that nothing is not included in the Ve'ata mechayes kulam. And that means Or and Sof, and the Rebbe will teach us it's even begilui. All right, let's talk a little bit about Tu B'Shvat. 15 B'Shvat.
Right, so, the Rebbe didn't say Tu B'Shvat.
15 B'Shvat. Ki Adam Eitz HaSadeh. We already mentioned in some of the shiurim that the Eitz HaSadeh, we compare. First of all, we should know that in the Torah doesn't state Adam Eitz HaSadeh. I think I mentioned it this morning, if I remember correctly, or last night. Torah doesn't state Adam Eitz HaSadeh. We are so used to this, that Chazal says Adam Eitz HaSadeh is a statement. Torah is asking, Ki Adam Eitz HaSadeh? Ki Adam Eitz HaSadeh? Why Torah asking in Parshas Vayetze Kitzeise? Because there it tells us, I think it's Kitzeise, in there it tells us not to destroy fruit trees when we go on war. So the Torah says, Ki Adam Eitz HaSadeh, is the tree of the field the person that you need to kill it? No, you're not allowed to kill it. If you wage wars against each other, you kill each other, that's one thing. But don't kill the tree, because the tree is not a person that you need to kill it. So there's a question, Ki Adam Eitz HaSadeh, Hasidus and Chazal turn it into a statement that a person is like the tree of the field. It's like Eitz HaSadeh. In beginning with the fact that the gematria of Eitz HaSadeh is 474, which is the same gematria of Das, which means consciousness, muda'ut, awareness, that is required of us as we are making brachas and eating and celebrating all the 7 minim of kinds of grains and fruits that the Holy Land of Eretz Israel nishtabcha bahen, that was praised with. And that's what we are eating tonight and tomorrow. And the way we are doing it, the making Seder Tu B'Shvat, is a process of awareness and refinement of our 7 midos. So let's do a little bit, at least touch a little bit, about how each of the minim, 7 minim, is correlating to the 7 midos, to each midah and what we do with it. And let's start with the pasuk. The pasuk is Eretz Chita Us'ora, Gefen Te'ena V'Rimon, and Eretz, a land of Chita and Se'ora, wheat and barley, Gefen Te'ena V'Rimon, vine, which means wine, and figs and pomegranate. And then again, Eretz Zeis Shemen Udvash, a land of olive oil, Zeis, a olive tree that produces oil, and so the oil of olive and dvash, and the honey from dates. So the beginning of the 7 minim is Eretz. Eretz represents the neshama. שרצתה לעשות רצון קודנה. רצתה מלשון רצון, ארץ רוצה. The neshama wants to do the will of her master, and she needs to train the nefesh habahamis, the animalistic soul and the ego, to also to serve Hashem. And it's called the land of Chita and Se'ora and Gefen and Te'ena and Rimon, and the land of Zeis Shemen Udvash. That's the neshama, the nefesh, the neshama. And sometimes in order to have this, like Aaron HaKohen was lighting the menorah with 7 candles every day. And that was helping to bring out the light and to animate the 7 kinds of neshamas, of which the Jewish collective soul is composed of. And the same thing here. In order for the eretz to produce this sweet and good tasting produce, it has to be plowed. It has to be softened. And that means with our das, with our awareness, we have to practice cheshbon hanefesh. We have to practice, how shall I say, how do you say cheshbon hanefesh? Giving oneself an account of where I'm holding and where I'm going and where I'm holding with my goals and achieving them and so on, and what needs to be fixed and corrected and improved and so on and so forth. There has to be a harisha. We have to plow. We have to soften. We have to soften our ego. We have to soften our rigid way of perception. We have to plow. And sometimes when we really need to make big changes and we want to reveal as begashmios, when you want to really bring out the treasures from the earth, you need to dig deep. Chita and seora is the first one. The 2 grains. Chita is ma'achal adam. Chita is a food for men. Lechem levav enosh yis'ad, says David HaMelech. Lechem that is made of chita supports and gives strength to the heart of men. Chita, ches tes hey, is gematria 22. the 22 letters of consciousness of the Torah. So Beruchnius Chita is Ma'achal Adam, that means the sustenance, the food of the godly soul. So we have Adam and we have Behema. The Adam is the godly soul and the Behema is the animalistic soul. So the Ma'achal Adam, the food for Adam, the Chita, the wheat, is the food of the godly soul, which is called Adam, Edme Le'elyon, because it's similar to the divine. Chelek Eloka Mimal Mamash. What is the food, Ma'achal Adam? So the spiritual sustenance of the Nefesh HaElokis. It means learning Torah, it means davening, it means practicing Das, and connecting ourselves to what we know, and make sure we live like that, and our midos are being changed, and so on and so forth. That's the work of the Nefesh HaElokis, with the power of Torah and Tefillah and Hisbonenus, and thinking and contemplating, concentrating, focusing, setting goals, and so on and so forth. And since the Nefesh HaElokis, the godly soul, serves Hashem with Ahava, with love, and Kiruv, and intimacy and closeness, Chita hints to Midas HaChesed, which is love. Now we get to the Se'ora. I'm making it B'kitzu. Now we're making Se'ora. Se'ora is barley. Barley is considered Ma'achal Behema. As Chachamenu say, Kol HaMenachos Ba'os Min HaChitim, all the meal offerings come from wheat, except for Mincha Soita, the meal offering of a Soita, of a woman suspected to be not loyal to her husband, or Minchas HaOmer. Also, the Mincha of Korban HaOmer comes from Min HaSe'orim. These two meal offerings, the Mincha of the Soita and the Mincha of the Omer, was brought from barley. Why? The Gemara explains that since the Soita is suspected she did a Maise Behema, she acted like an animal, therefore her Korban is Ma'achal Behema, is food of an animal, Se'ora, barley. And also the meal offering of the Omer is also connected with the Behema. Why? Because it's the time, Sfiras HaOmer, is the time of avoida, of working on tikkun hamidos of Nefesh HaBahamis, on correcting the midos of the animalistic soul. In the times that they make Sfiras HaOmer, we bring, therefore, the Korban HaOmer, the meal offering with the Korban HaOmer, we bring from the Se'orim, which is Ma'achal Behema. So the Se'ora represents the power of the Nefesh HaElokis to discipline and train and teach the Nefesh HaBahamis to begin to appreciate, first of all, to conduct all its activities, L'Shem Shamayim. There are many physical activities we have to be engaged in and so on. And the way we conduct business, everything should be done with integrity. There's a lot of integrity that the Nefesh HaElokis has to train the Nefesh HaBahamis, that is very self-centered. And since the Nefesh HaBahamis is by nature drawn to Taivos Olam Hazeh, so Avodas Hashem of the Nefesh HaBahamis, when the Nefesh HaBahamis learns to serve Hashem, it doesn't come through Avas Hashem. That's the avodah of the Nefesh HaElokis. By the Nefesh HaBahamis, Avodas Hashem comes from iskafia, from subduing oneself, from imposing on oneself and subduing one's drive to be used l'shem shamayim. And that requires a lot of discipline, and that is representing Midas HaGvura. Tif'eres is the third one. That's the gefen, the wine. From the gefen, we produce yain hamesameach. Chazal say that, by the way, there are different wines that come from different places on the vine tree, the vine bush. And the best wine that produces most simcha comes from the raglios, from the lowest part of the vine, close to the earth. If you take the anavim, the grapes from the lowest part of the vine, that will produce the yain that will give you the most simcha and the most intoxicating in a positive way. And why the raglios? Because that represents the simcha that comes from being humble, close to the earth, the lowest, the raglios. So one has to fill his avodas Hashem with simcha, with joy. So it's true that we need to have the physical sustenance of the chita and the seora. These are physical foods and spiritual foods that are satiating and strengthening the person. But we also are expected to drink yain mesameach in order to uplift avodas Hashem. And for that we have the gefen, which represents the koyach, the power that is hidden within the nefesh to uplift avodas Hashem, side from the nefesh ha'elokis and side the avodah of the nefesh ha'ba'amis. Tiroshi ha'mesameach elokim va'anashim. As the pasuk says, my tirosh, my wine, tirosh is wine, says Hashem, that makes happy elokim va'anashim. Elokim represent the nefesh ha'elokis and anashim represent the nefesh ha'ba'amis. So the gefen in avodas Hashem is how do you produce the simcha? Because really both the nefesh ha'elokis, both the nefesh ha'elokis and the nefesh ha'bahamis can be quite depressed. Why? Because the nefesh ha'elokis, what am I doing here? It's so depressing. I'm coming from Gan Eden. It's so dark here. It's so cold. It's so far. I'm not home. Where is my father? And it's depressing, the nefesh ha'elokis, to do avodas Hashem in this low dark world. And the nefesh ha'bahamis also has to discipline itself all the time, suppress itself. That's now no big lick. So we have to bring simcha to both. How? Remembering that the tachlis hakavana of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in avodas Hashem is dafka in this world. To be the closest to Hashem is knowing that what does Hashem wants the most. Dafka avodas Hashem here in this physical world with the two souls, even with an ego and even with the animalistic soul, and all the other problems, Yetzer Hara, and all the temptations of the world, and all the darkness, and all the disconnection, all the addictions, and so on and so forth, the anxieties, the jealousies, the anger, the I don't know what else. Yet Hashem Dafka, knowing that Hashem Dafka wants to be served in this world and want to be prepared for his home, that brings simcha to both. The nefesh ha'elokis, knowing that I don't need to miss to go back up there because Hashem wants to come and to reveal himself here. So the main avodah is here. So I'm excited that I can really fulfill his wish by being in this world and achieving the most. And so too the nefesh ha'bahamis, the la'at, it realizes, well, all these things that I'm mourning, that I have to let go, all my addictions and so on, these are pleasures that are temporary. They're not lasting, they're not deep, they're not essential, they don't keep me happy. I have to go more and more, and another one. I started to keep, nefesh ha'elokis is training me, started to keep Shabbos, up to this, that. Oh, and it's actually nice. It's nice to keep Shabbos, nice to daven, the nefesh ha'elokis, la'at, realize, and you know what? These are pleasures that don't harm you, they last long. So you la'at, you bring simcha into the avoid of the nefesh bahamis as well. So the yain is midas hatif'eres that combines both the chesed and the gvura and the simcha that comes along with both. Now, these three represents more the avodah pnimis that the person does within himself. Now comes netzach and hod. Netzach and hod, kabbalistically, are called levar migufa. They are outside of the goof. There's the torso and the two hands. That's the goof. That's considered the goof. And then outside is the two legs. the thighs or the legs or something else, but it's lebar migufa, it's called the outside of the body. These are koiches that are already relating to the outside. The first one is te'ena, the fig. Both te'ena and rimon, fig and pomegranate, represent netzach and hod. How do we do it short? The fig leaves represent our levushim. Just as in Gan Eden after the sin, they made themselves garments, they sewed garments from fig leaves, from the leaves of the fig tree. So the alei te'ena are symbolizing the levushim, the external garments that we have with which we communicate, and that is thought, speech, and action. Now, very often we neglect the levushim. We don't really take leadership enough on the levushim. And beginning with thought, not every thought should be allowed into my inner space. I have to be selective. And that's the way the te'ena is picked. The te'ena is picked differently from other fruits, one by one. The owner has to visit the tree daily. And each day, another one, another two, another three, another four. It's daily. Until the end of the season, he collected a lot. But it requires ongoing visiting and picking the te'ena one by one action at a time, one thought at a time, one speech at a time. And what happens with thoughts is that we let thoughts come. They knock at our door, we open the door, we let them in. Before we know it, they're in the living room, in my bedroom, running the show. Not every thought should come in. I should be very aware of what's the vision of my day, what do I want to accomplish, what am I here to accomplish in the world, and so on. Who am I? What I, with my mechaye and my mehave, can contribute to the world and to Dira B'Tachtonim, and according to that, I select very intentfully, Adam Eitz HaSadeh, Gematria Das, intentfully, consciously, what thoughts I identify with and I engage with and I want to enhance and develop, and what thoughts I'm sorry, they ring my bell, and I'm sorry, I'm busy, you cannot come in now. Or I can let you come and have a glass of water and leave. Some thoughts, we need to look at them and then let them go. But we need to be very careful about the thoughts that we actually choose and select to be present in our mind and to identify with, so they can inspire our speech and action. And so too in diburim. We have a tendency to be neglectful in conversations. And when we meet people and we sit with people, we are letting, that's why the Chazal say that keeping the kedusha of the mouth is similar to keeping the kedusha of the reproductive organ. It's the same thing. You don't just let anything come out. There's time and there's place for everything. And it has to be done in a certain way. So not every conversation, just because I met some friend, I have to talk about everything in the world with no purpose. No, even if it's nothing bad, doesn't matter. There should be intentful. I already talking to someone, let me increase light. Let me say something nice to that person. A compliment, share dvar Torah, or advice how to deal with her little child that is losing it, or I don't know what, whatever it is, something good, something that will leave a to'eles, a benefit. Sometimes it's for bonding, but yet it has to be conscious. The te'ena is to be picked one by one. And so to action. Sometimes there are little actions in the area of permissible that we say, not a big deal. This was a small thing. A little lashon hara, a little this, little that. I did a little that. No, one by one. Keep visiting one by one, every action. And at the end, you are a different person. If you are starting to be conscious and selective, not starting, but working on being conscious and selective and pick one by one, you end up having kutanot, as it says, that Hashem made them kutanot or, made them gowns from leather gowns, from or, from skin. But it's like Reb Meir Sefer Torah was kutanot or, with an aleph. So you become a lichtig person. A person, wherever you go, you spread light. You shine, whoever you touch, you ignite the light in another person as well. That's the Te'ena. Much more to say, but enough for now. The Rimon, give me another 5 minutes, we are done. Be'ezrat Hashem. The Rimon is the practical mitzvahs. ואת כפלח הרימון רכסך, השיר השירים, אפילו ריקנים שבך מלאים מצוות כרימון. Even the lowest Jews are full of mitzvahs. Some say the rimon has 248 seeds, and some say it has 613 seeds. Bottom line, mitzvahs aseh. That's the inyan of rimon, which is the levushim. I forgot to say that the te'ena is connected with midas hanetzach, which means to overcome our habits and our drive or temptation to use the levushim in a neglectful way, and to overcome the temptations to use them in a negative way and use them instead using them in a positive way. This is requiring netzach. It requires an overcoming kind of energy that will choose and not let any kind of expression be done without carefully being chosen. Then we have the rimon is the hod. We are all called Yehodim. We have hod in our being. And that is not only the netzach, the time that we are inspired to overcome and to use the levushim in an inspired way, but the consistency. The hod is the consistency that comes out of Kabbalah's all, of acknowledging that the most important thing is a ma'aseh ha'ikar. And no matter if how my mood is in the moment, if I'm excited or not, if I'm inspired or not, I have to be committed to ma'aseh, the doing of the mitzvahs, because here is where we're making the home for Hashem. That's the rimon. Now come the other last two, the zayis, the shemen zayis, and the dvash. And before them, there's another eretz. The term eretz is connected, is showing up in the pasuk again. Eretz, zay, shemen, and dvash. So after the first 5 minim, there is the word eretz again. Now, the first eretz in the beginning of the pasuk, before all the minim, hints to the koiches that are in the neshama, that are hidden in the neshama, that have to be brought out and can be brought out in a time of revelation of Hashem, in a time of Beis Hamikdash. Then there was Gilui Elokus in the world. There were Nisim, miracles, and also personally and privately, everyone saw much more Elokus in their own life and much more blessings in their own home and family. But in time of Galus, when it's dark, and Derech Reshaim Slepcha, the way of the wicked wins many times, and Avodas Hashem is connected with many nisyonos and difficulties. Now we have to have extra koiches. And therefore the pasuk says eretz again. This eretz alludes to the koiches that we need to dig out. These are the real precious stones and precious metals and gold and silver and diamonds that we have to dig out from the neshama, from the neshama, serving Hashem in the time of galus. The zeish shemen is the bitter taste of the olive and the olive oil. Yeyu mezonosai merurim kazais me'es Hashem velo metukim midei adam. And Beruchnius is take the koiches that we need and we receive to serve Hashem at the time of nisyonis and concealment. Say physically and say spiritually. And in our days as well, that the nisyonis are not so much like physical poverty and egoy. This is also unfortunately, but we relatively, many of us live very comfortably. But spiritually, there is a barrage of rockets shot at us every day, of contamination and so much, how do you say, foreign ashpaos from the media and from a lot of clippers coming in. And we need to be attached to Elokus in such difficult times. Like Miriam. Miriam represents the of Merirus, the Merirus of Galus. Miriam. Nevertheless, the Shemen comes at the end. Miriam took the tupim, the Tov Miriam, the tambourine with her, because envisioned that at the end of it there will be Geula. And that's why the Zayis that eventually crushed and produces Shemen does also represent the Geula that follows Galus. Like the Shemen that is produced out of the bitter olive. The Shemen represents the secrets of Razin of the Torah, the secrets of the secrets. Yain is the secrets of the Torah, and Shemen is the secrets of the secrets. The deepest soul of the Torah is revealed in the Geula as a result of this Galus. But it's still Shemen Zayis. It has some bitterness to it. You don't forget completely the Galus yet. The ultimate is the Dvash. And by this we conclude. Almost by this. It's a long 5 minutes. The Dvash is here from dates. The Dvash is Midas HaYesod. Midas HaYesod collects from all the other Midos. It's like when you went through all the processes of building the house and now everything is ready and just the last permit to turn on the electricity is delayed. Everything is done already. You went through all the stages. But you can't get into the house. It's a very difficult stage to be. You don't have patience anymore. It's like the yesod of it. I'm sorry, the Zayis is the yesod. I said the Dvash. I'm sorry, the Zayis is keneged yesod. Because of the Merirus, there is an extra Merirus at the end of Galus especially, Galus Bechlal especially at the end, when you feel like everything's done, we can't wait, Ad Masai, you cannot wait anymore, that's the Inyan of Sfiras HaYesod. They can't wait to give Ashpa, to Mashpia all the lights that it got from the higher Spheros. And that's why in the Kabbalistic call, in Vayomer David, when David mentioned the Spheros, Lecha Hashem Agdula, Batiferet, Vanetzach, Vayesod, and Yesod is not Vanetzach, Vatiferet, Vanetzach, Kichol Bashamayim u'Ba'aretz. The Yesod is called Kol. It includes all the lights of the higher spheres. It can't wait already to be transformed to the light of the Geula. And especially this Merirus of the Zayis, we feel at the end of Galus when we can't wait anymore. The Dvash is the Malchus. Ateres Ba'ala, Eishes Chayil Ateres Ba'ala. The Dvash is the ultimate transformation. How the Kabbalah's all of doing Hashem's will under all circumstances, including the most challenging and dark ones, eventually brings so much sweetness that one will forget the bitterness of Galus altogether, and we will experience the sweetness of being and the aliveness of being one with Hashem. I just want to conclude with the fact that the emphasis on Tu B'Shvat is dafka on the fruits, even though the Shiva Minim include Chita and Se'ora. But as we say, I think I mentioned it this morning, בורא נפשוס רבוס בחסרונן על כל מה שבראת להחיוס בהם נפש כל חי. So we have two types of sustenance. We have the grains, the חיטה and the שעורה, and we have the fruits. The חיטה and the שעורה represents נפשוס רבוס בחסרונן, what you need to have. What are the fruits for? They are there just for pleasure. Hashem created fruits just for pleasure. So these are two elements in serving Hashem. One is ratzon and one is oineg, tainug. We serve Hashem with both. We have ratzon and we have tainug. Ratzon is a power that is an expression of the soul itself, but it's a power that operates us in a way of commanding us. If I want to learn, I can force myself to learn. If I want to lose weight, I can force myself not to eat. If I want to keep my commitment to davening, can force myself to daven even if I'm not inspired. It's koach haratzon, it's a very powerful power. אין דבר העומד בפני הרצון. I'm talking about רצון that is above seichel. The רצון of the nefesh. רצון that comes from who you are. It's a very strong power. But it operates in a manner of have to. You have to. I make myself have to. Doesn't matter. The energy is a have to energy. And therefore, avodas Hashem that is done only with ratzon is missing something. It's missing tainug. It's missing pleasure. Pleasure, Kabbalah says, Sefer Yetzirah says, en gavoa mi-oineg. There's nothing higher than oineg. Oineg is the pnimius of ratzon, which means, la'achayos b'hem nefesh kol chai. When you feel the tainug of the nefesh, then you feel the life in avodas Hashem. La'achayos. Tainug brings aliveness. Chayus, vitality, energy, joy, movement, lightness. And that's the inyan of fruits. So what we are celebrating tonight, serving Hashem with pleasure. Serving Hashem with the pleasure of the nefesh. Really, if you want another 2 minutes, a little bit deeper, pleasure is keser. Pnimius keser, pleasure. Chitzonius is ratzon, pnimius is keser, is a pleasure. What is this pleasure? Keser is an intermediary between Elokus and the world. Elokus has nothing to do with the world. But, so what can bridge between Elokus, which is infinite and has nothing to do with world, and worlds? The pleasure that comes up in Hashem when He thinks to create worlds. That's like a bridge that bridges between Elokus and world. And so too, your neshama and your avodas Hashem in this world. Your neshama has nothing to do with this world. Nothing to do with any physical thing. It's coming from Gan Eden. It's not doing anything there. It's one with Hashem. How will you work with it in this world? There is a memutza, there is a shatpan, pleasure. When you reveal the pleasure, that's already a shatchan. If the neshama feels pleasure, this pleasure can be already a connector between neshama as it is, completely detached from the world, and between the neshama applying itself and serving Hashem in the world. And therefore pleasure is important, and we are celebrating. The Rebbe brought out Chamisha Asar Bishvat, when the moon shining fully, and the 15th of Shvat, the month of Nesius, the month of bringing down Elokus, the month of the shevet of the Dli, of the Aquarius, the bucket that is dole from the depth of the divine wisdom and sustaining and watering the entire world. Ad ki mal'a ares de'ais havai, kamayim layam achasim, b'geula amitis v'ashleima, and all the chayalim should have complete victory and come home with a big smile and a big pride that they carried the will of God in turning this world into a beautiful garden for Hashem and us to all feel the pleasure of being one. Everyone should be able to dig out the most beautiful precious stones from your own neshamos. And the Jewish people are called Eretz Chefetz. It's brought in the Yom Yom by the Baal Shem Tov. We are a desired land that if you only dig, you will find oitzros le'en kates, treasures unending. We didn't even begin to find them all. So all the treasures should come out, and the treasures of Hashem is for sure coming out, and together we will turn this world into a beautiful home for Hashem, led by the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach and the Geula Mitzvah Shlema, with the beautiful Beis HaMikdash, with the Ulam that is open, no doors. Everyone can come in after getting through all the work in the time of Beis HaMikdash and in the time of Galus, and now we are eating the sweet fruits of the Geula Mitzvah Shlema. Take a biyad mamash.